Hello and welcome in. I am Coach Sherri, and this is my live, and I am talking about concerts. I'm seeing a lot of get ready for with me for concerts, and I know my daughters are getting ready for the Renaissance concert, and just seeing the preparation that people are putting into this particular concert. Beyonce's newest concert is just so amazing to me because I've gone to many concerts over the years, over the decades, even, and I just don't recall putting this much effort into going to a concert, putting this much effort into the outfit. And I know that the outfit is very important. Yes, it is, but it's just amazing. And so I just wanted to come on here and just have a conversation. And if you are here live in the chat, please be sure. Hey, Carter's Eat, how are you? How's it going? Great to see you. Hi, Elevate with Vern. How's it going? It's great to see both of you. Thank you for tuning in. I am just talking about concerts and the preparation for concerts. And I'm just amazed at all the prep that people are putting into going to the Renaissance. And I'm talking from experience because my daughters are getting ready to go to the Renaissance in a few weeks, and they have been planning their outfits since the spring. Yeah, Floyd, what is going on? I'm telling you, Vern, if we could just remember the inception of this, because I'm trying to tell you, when we talked about Floyd, we were cracking up. It was bananas, and I still love it every time. And I don't hear the name often, but whenever I do, trust and believe, I think of you. Yes, the prices, what the prices are crazy. Yes, Lisa Carter is in the building. Yes, the prices are crazy. So I did have an opportunity to go with my daughters. They, like I said, they are going to go in a few weeks, but I decided not to. Um, I probably will regret that because Beyonce puts on a remarkable concert, and even though her tickets are extremely expensive, I believe they're worth every dime. I really do. I see everyone is speaking. You think when you say triplets, you talk about my daughters and myself in the thumbnail, Vern. So they both, it's so interesting, especially as you see your children mature, and I love the way that they're personalities develop. I love how, over time, they take pieces of you and add pieces of themselves, and you can see yourself in them. And so for my youngest daughter, I see her as my younger self. And my middle daughter, my center child, I see her as my more mature self. And I really just love seeing how even my son, how he just reminds me of my husband and his grandfather, and just I just really love it. I think that's how it's supposed to be. That's part of your legacy, is leaving a piece of you within your children. And again, I've said this before. They always say you are born looking like your parents, your family, but you die looking like how you lived. And so far, I'm so pleased. And I know I will continue to be pleased with how they are living. But yes, yes, on the cute couch. Yes, Renaissance Festival. Hello, Edward Smart. How are you today? It's good to see you. How's it going in Hawaii? Yes. And Mocha Mima Media, you're going on Saturday in New Jersey and in New Orleans in September. Wow. So I've been to many concerts in New Jersey, if you're talking around the Meadowlands area, because I grew up in New Jersey. And I've been to many concerts in New Orleans, especially for the Essence Festival. And I'm going to share with you some of my favorite concerts and my concerts in the past. And then I want you to chime in and let me know if you've also been to those concerts and or what concerts you've gone to. So Mocha Mima, are you going to see Beyonce both times in New Jersey and in New Orleans, or are you going to see another artist perform? She is worth every penny. And this summer, I met someone in New York when I was in New York who actually went to London and saw her. She just so happened to be in London for a wedding. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to see who's in town performing. And Beyonce was there. And she said that the seats she got were so incredible. And for that same price in New York at Madison, well, not yeah, Madison Square Garden or at the Barclays Center, whichever, um, it would have been those seats that she had, those great seats, and the price for them. She would have paid nosebleeds in New York. So she said it definitely was worth every penny. Elevate, yeah, we people say that. I see. If everyone knew what my husband looked like, they look a lot like him too. They just for some reason my kids came out my complexion, which is interesting. Okay, good. Everyone is speaking. You know what? He's doing okay. Vern, thank you so much for asking. Thank you. All right. Yes, everyone is speaking. Okay. You're at work. All right, Carter's Eat. How's everything going? You been to the pool lately? What's going on over there? How's everything? Yes, your son looks just like his dad when I met him. Yeah, I know. Wow. Elevate with Vern. So I need to catch up because I had a sneak peek that you were on a cruise of some sort. Did you have a good time? Where'd you go? What islands did you go to? I'm definitely going to go over to check out your experience on the cruise. I haven't been on a cruise since the 80s when I was in high school. My parents used to go every year, twice a year, and they loved cruising. But how did you enjoy it? Hmm. Yes, Carter's Eat is always on the grind. She is working. She's working her YouTube channels. She has two of them, Carter's Eat and Mrs. Carter. And she is also working outside of YouTube. But luckily she's able to do it from home. That's a great thing. Okay, Beyonce both times. Have you gone to Vegas to see Usher yet? Mocha Mima? Yes, I will. I will call you, Vern. We have to catch up. You're from Connecticut? Oh, okay. So yeah, I was in Connecticut this summer. I was in New Haven. And even though I grew up in the tri-state area, I've never been to Connecticut. But one of my dearest cousin's daughter, who look at as my niece, they got married before COVID and just had their first baby, but they had a baby housewarming kind of shower in their yard in Connecticut. They brought a beautiful old Victorian home and beautiful home, and that was my first time in New Haven. We stayed there for the weekend and enjoyed a brunch. You probably know where it is. I can't recall the name, but I did do a video on. I believe I did a video on it. Let me check my phone and see if I can find it, the picture, so I can know the name of the actual restaurant. But it was amazing, the brunch, and I'm sure you've been to it because apparently it's very, very popular. Oh, it's called Bella's Cafe. Have you ever been to Cafe? Okay, no updates. Okay, all right, being considered. Have um have you? Well, you know what, Carter Z's, I'll text you. All right, let's see. They are a great way to travel. A cruise is. I actually have a friend who just left the other day. She's. I don't. Let me see. I think they're flying to Turkey. I can't remember where they're flying to, but she's going to be cruising in Greece and going to one of my favorite islands, Mykonos. Oh my goodness, you met your only. Now, was that planned, Vern, to meet your only bloodline cousin? Or did it just so happen that you were on the same cruise? Because that would be a coincidence. That would be serendipity for sure. Okay, Half Moon Cake. I love the Bahamas. Let me tell you, when was it? Back in 1997. Unfortunately, I had miscarried our first baby. It was a boy, and when that happened, it was devastating. And I went to the Bahamas for about a month and just lived there. My husband came out a couple of times. One of my dearest friends, she flew out because I said, I have the place. Let's come. And I really got to know the locals and, just hanging out. I was at Nassau, and I hung out on Paradise Island. But I was really hanging out where the people that are from the Bahamas was going, to the grocery stores, getting my hair done at the hair salons. And it was a really interesting experience. I just needed to step off and take that time. Yes, my daughter was just saying we should go to Vegas to see Usher in September or October. I don't know. I'm gonna see, but I know Usher puts on a great show. I have seen him in the past, and I would like to see his residency. I hear it's really, really good. Someone I know had gone to see him not too long ago, and she said it was worth it for sure. Yes. Thank you, Carter's Eat. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, New Haven. And so I know New Haven to me reminds me of different parts of New Jersey, like Central Jersey. And I found it to be very interesting. Hopefully, it's going to be kind of uplifted or facelift, because I know that there's some diamonds in the rough there. And moving forward, getting caught up with the times, it definitely can be a very special place. Yes, Bermuda is phenomenal. I went on a cruise to Bermuda when I was in the, I think, 10th or 11th grade. I believe that was our first cruise. And I knew even as a teenager that Bermuda was very expensive. I want to say back then, a hamburger was about $10 when we went on shore, for our excursions. And I was like, what? Even though my parents were paying for it, I still was like, that's a lot of money, back then. So I could only imagine what it's like now. One of my line sisters is actually originally from Bermuda. That's where her people are from. She was born in America, but her people are from Bermuda. Thank you, Carter Z. You hear it, right? I'm trying. Listen, it is something else. Um, it's a lot. We need to catch up for sure. Yes, you've been to Bella's many times. Isn't it delicious? Oh my goodness. We had such a good time. Oh, it was highly recommended that we go. And so we had some time. It was on a Sunday, and they are very busy on the weekends. But it was a nice wait because the area around Bella's is so quaint, and they had those little shops and things. So, very nice main street. And we just kind of walked around, and before we knew it, our table was ready. hmm Um, in Annapolis, I, I missed what you were saying before. Oh, Nationals. Oh, yeah, Nationals was in Indiana. Um, are you talking about Ford Delta? Because I know that was in Indiana, and everyone's returning today from it. I know a couple of my line sisters, they attended one of my daughter's roommates for the summer because my daughter lives in New York this summer doing her internship. And one of her roommates or housemates, she went to Nationals. She's a soror, a young soror. Okay, good. All right. Let me know. Text me and let me know if he responded or not. I talk to him just about every day. Only your second airplane ride? Oh my goodness, Vern. How did you do it? How did it go for you? I hope it went well. Did you fly from where you are to Miami? Yes, I know who you're talking about. And Healthy G Mom is in the building. How are you? Great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, good. So that must have been exciting, Vern, to meet your cousin. Oh my goodness. Did you look at her and try to find those similarities? Did you find that you both, were very similar in many ways physically and as well as, maybe the way that you talk or gesture? Hello, G Mom is speaking to everyone. Thank you. Yes, shout out from Los Angeles. I love LA. I was kind of hoping my daughter was going to do her internship this summer in LA, but she felt like transportation was going to be challenging there and she would definitely need a vehicle. So she decided to go back to New York, which she loves. She loves New York, but she went to LA during the school year with this group that she's a part of. This amazing group is called Alt Finance, and so she enjoyed LA, but she just wasn't sure that she wanted to be there, as a student doing an internship type of thing. Mhm. Yeah, the thing is, Lisa, is that after that New Edition concert, look, I don't know it's almost like I have an out of body experience when I go to really good concerts. And I just don't want to overexert myself like I did going to that New Edition concert. That's the only thing. I am still on the fence because my birthday's in October and I'm thinking, maybe that could be like a birthday getaway. But then I just know how I am. But the good thing about Usher is a lot of his songs that I really, really like are rather slow, not as upbeat and jumping around and stuff. I see everyone is still speaking. Very entertaining. All right. So is that a good entertaining or, entertaining because some interesting things occurred? Which is it, Healthy Gma? Let's see. So yeah, that does sound like a good thing, a YouTube cruise. So Vern, was that something also that was planned, or is it just again just happenstance? You ended up on a cruise that they were on too. Thank you for welcoming everyone in. Hmm. See, everyone is speaking. Cameo. All right. Really? What year was that? I remember Cameo. I'm surprised they've never been in any of the lineups. What I want to kind of get into now. Let me see. So my first concert was New Edition back in 1983. And it's so crazy to see them looking like this because back then they were the cat's meow. Like they have matured nicely. So over the years, I guess as we've matured, they've always to me looked the same or just as good. I always thought that they looked, very handsome. I was happy that they were around my age. And it was just so cool to have a young boy band that was my age. I had a crush on Ronnie in particular, but I went to every single concert they put on from 1983 until definitely through college. And then I caught them one year around 97 or 98 when they were at Essence Festival. And so I really loved their concerts. Let me know in the chat if you've ever been to a New Edition concert, especially the beginning concerts. And you know what I used to love back in the day when I think about how big concerts are now compared to when I was younger. When I was younger, it always seemed possible to meet the people that were performing. It was close up. If you went to the Apollo or to the Beacon Theater in New York and went to a concert, they were right there. Even going to the Garden, I don't know. I just always had really good seats as well. So maybe that's it too. But I always felt like, you know what, I might be able to say hi and they can see me. I know one year my husband and I went to a concert in St. Louis. It was Al Green, and he gave me a rose. That's how close we were, to the stage. But, it was just interesting. And I remember, so where I grew up, we had a school bus. As long as you were in elementary school from second to sixth grade, at the time, sixth grade was in elementary school, you could ride a school bus. And when you would ride that school bus, it picked you up at the bus stop and took you to school. But middle school and high school, you had to walk or get to school the best way you can, get a ride, catch the public bus or whatever. And even if you caught the public bus, you would have to still walk up a couple of blocks. It would never really drop you right there. So I would get a ride. My brothers are 8 and 9 years older than me. So one of my brothers would either take me or my mother. And I had a friend, her name was Ebony, and Ebony would come in the morning. She would walk or get dropped off at my house. And she would come in and she had back then a Walkman. And, back then Walkmans were relatively new and, kind of hip. And she always would get like first dibs on new edition songs. And I used to always be like, how do you know these songs already? Like, it's not even on the radio yet. Come to find out, her mom used to date their drummer. And so I remember, and she lived with her grandparents, but I remember her mother would always say, yeah, I'm going to let you go to one of their concerts. You can go behind stage and meet them. You could bring a friend. So I was going to be that friend. But that never happened. And I used to always look forward to it. But I did have a really good friend named Sabrina, and her mom, she was her mother's only child, and her parents were divorced. And so it was really just her and her mom. And her mom was that mother that, like, come what may, she was going to hang tight with us. And she literally, no matter where they were in our area, New York, New Jersey, whatever, her mother would take us to New Edition concerts and be right there with us. And it was just a great time. I really appreciated Miss Little for doing that, taking that time out to do that for sure. Yes, shout out to nationals. And who are some of our new honorees? Who are some of our new sorors? I have to look that up. I haven't checked it out. Yes. A baby was crying for an hour. Whew. Yeah, that, you have to have grace sometimes with babies. I know a lot of people look at kids when they come on the plane like, what is going on? But at the same time, we have to remember when we were babies and just what that pressure must be doing to the baby's head. We just don't know. But to hear them cry is like fingernails on a chalkboard for real. Thank you, Carter's E. Thank you. Mm. Oh yeah, I'm a Libra. Yeah. I just made Libra though, healthy G mom. I just made it. I'm on the 22nd of October, and my son is the 23rd. No, the 25th of September. My kids always get their birthdays kind of mixed up a little bit. But I love being a Libra. I truly do. Yes. Mhm. I'm trying to catch up with the chat right now. Let's see. 2009 is when you saw a Cameo. What were Was it the original Cameo or did they have some new members? Yes, New Edition was a great show. And so they recently, a few months ago, were in Charlotte, and I went with a dear friend, and Lisa, she's a soror also. And when I tell you, and I happened to see one of my line sisters from Pittsburgh, she flew in for it because that was the closest that she would be able to see them. Because if they were coming anywhere else near her, it was not working with her schedule. And when I tell you, I had such a good time at that concert. There was not a bad seat. And it was just so good to be around grown folks that just enjoyed life and good music. It was just so much fun. It was New Edition, Guy, Keith Sweat, and Tank. And that was my first time seeing Tank in concert. And I said, you know what? Tank has a new fan, low key. He has a new fan. Yes, you remember the Walkman? Those, they have evolved. It went from the Walkman, where it was just like the radio, then it was the disc, then it was the like the iPod kind of Walkman thing. Walkman has come a long way. You've never been to a concert, Vern? Girl. Okay, we're gonna have to, everyone in this chat, we're going to have to get Elevate with Vern out. We're gonna have to take her to a concert because I'm about to run down my whole laundry list of concerts, Vern. I'm telling you. And some people will look at a concert as being overrated because you can get the album or whatever they do now. You could downstream or upstream or load stream, whatever it's called, with the music and listen to it. But it's something about being in the atmosphere, especially if the person that's performing is a true performer. It's nothing like it. Yes. Hi, Heirloom Vintage and Collectibles. How are you doing, Jacqueline? It's great to see you. Great to see you. Right, Curtis E. we're gonna have to drag you out to a concert, even if it's no more than going to a concert in the park. Please tell me you've gone to a concert in your local park. You know how they have the shells. And actually, when I first graduated from college, my old high school band instructor, and I stopped being in band in 10th grade, but I still played. I played the flute, and he invited me to join the community concert band, and I did. And in the summer we would play in that shell in the park, and it was people of all ages in that band. It was interesting, let's say. It was very interesting. Yes, I'm that mom too, Carter's Lisa. Oh my goodness. and and low key my mother was as well, but Miss Little just had more, I guess, energy than my mother did at the time. And she was just like, listen, I hear New Edition's going to be here in Long Island, I hear they're going to be in South Jersey, in Central Jersey, wherever. Let's go, you want to go? And we were like, yes. So it's fun to be that kind of mom. I know you're going to be that mom, I could tell already. Look, Vern, everybody's like, for real? You've never been to a concert? The oh, okay. Lisa, look at us. That's what's up. That's cool. That's impressive. All right. Yes. No, okay, so elevate with Vern. The baby was crying on the airplane and you you were too. Oh my goodness. So you know what? You may need to get like take some melatonin, how do you say it, melatonin or something like that before you get on the plane, so that you can be more relaxed. I know there's a lot of thoughts that can go through your mind when you're up that high, because it does not seem natural. But and I get it. Flying is, there's a lot of people that feel some kind of way, let's say, about flying. So I'm not judging you. Mm-mm. Tank gives a great show. Oh my goodness. I did not know. No one told me. And so it's been years, and he's maturing very nicely. All right, Rudy. So here it is 4. I'm an hour ahead of that time. I appreciate you for being in here. How are you doing? Start a GoFundMe for your first concert. Yes. And it needs to be a good one. So at this point, Bern, your first concert has to be dynamic. Your first concert really needs to be Renaissance, but you need to get a really good location inside of the building. Even though there's not a bad seat, you need to be able to see it very well to really, actually, Beyonce's concerts, and I'm gonna get to that too. But yes, Frankie Beverly, what? Now mm, he always used to close out Essence Festival every year. He is something else. I'm trying to tell you, I know that he's probably of a certain age where performing is more challenging. So I feel very fortunate to have caught him in concert for sure. Yes. Yes, Edward, please. Next time you are in New York, take Vern, Elevate with Vern to a concert. Please do that. Please. So I'm going to go down my list again. Let me see, because I wrote them down. Okay, so we have New Edition. And then there was this place called The Rink where I grew up. And the rink was amazing. I don't know how many of you grew up roller skating, but okay, Carter Z, I see you have a call. Yes. Thank you for being here though. So the rink it was a very popular place. It was in walking distance to my home, and it was in Bergenfield, New Jersey. And it was a very special place because on Friday nights around between 9 and I want to say 9 or 10 o'clock at night, which, back then that was kind of late. But around 9 or 10 o'clock at night on a Friday, different rap artists would come and perform. So once they would come to perform, and they had this whole center area, and that right there is a DJ booth, and then they had a little practice rink there, and carpet and sitting area. But when before the performance started, they would always stop the skating. So skating was over, everyone put their shoes, sneakers on, whatever, and you would just be on the rink floor to dance and to just kind of vibe with different artists that would come. And so some of the artists, some of the hip hop artists that came through were LL Cool J, Run DMC, Salt and Pepper, Grandmaster Flash, Funk Master Flex back in the day was the DJ just on a regular sometimes. He definitely was a DJ because they closed in 1998 and he was the last DJ to perform there. But when I tell you that was some of the best times, because we all love to roller skate, but we also love to have a good time. And that was when, hip hop was really on the verge of being as special as it is today. So this was in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. I forget when they opened, but I was so happy when the rink opened because the nearest rink was a little bit further. We always would have to get a ride to it, whereas this one we could just walk right to it. Otherwise, we had to roller skate in the streets, which we did, but going to the rink was just something special. So, what is Vern saying? You were holding on to you. You you broke your tray. You break into people's things on the airplane, Vern. Oh my goodness. Please don't tell me you holding on to the trays on the airplane in the airplane too tight. All right. 81. All right. And so Carter's saying she's here though. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. So the rink that I consider a concert as well. It was a live performance. So Vern, you listen, being from New York, you had to have seen some of the live performances at parties or whatever. I would consider that a concert too. So that was some good times for sure. And then moving forward, because like I said, my brothers were a lot older than me, and so sometimes they would let me hang. And so my oldest brother in particular sometimes would take me to different things. So he used to take me to the Budweiser Superfest concert. How many of you remember the Budweiser Superfest concerts? I don't think they still have them. I doubt if they do, but they were really, really good. I want to say this is probably where Essence Festival got some of their ideas from. They would have these concerts all across the city. I mean, I'm sorry, all across the nation. And as you can see, this is an old flyer from it. I want to say this flyer was from mm, maybe 1984, 1985. I say 1984 because Ashford and Simpson performed at this particular one. And I believe this is the first one that I attended. And it's something that I remember because how many of you remember Solid that Ashford and Simpson sang? Solid as a Rock, that song. Because they performed it for the first time at the Budweiser Superfest, and it was either in the Meadowlands in New Jersey or at the Madison Square Garden in New York. I can't remember which location we went to, but it was a Sunday night, and I remember when they sang it, and I had never heard it before. Okay, okay, Lisa, I say be right back. And I was like, wow, you don't usually hear brand new songs that have not been released on the radio or anything at a concert. So when they sang that song, I said, I never heard this song from them. And when they finished, they said, yeah, this is going to be our new single. It's coming out soon. Da 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 da. Then the next morning, I forget which radio station. It was either 98.7 Kiss FM or 107.5 WBLS. If you are from the tri-state area, you know those two stations very well. And in the mornings, one of those stations on Monday mornings would play brand new songs. They would play, a brand new single from popular artists, and it was kind of like a slam or jam. I forget what they would call it. And so they played Solid, and I got so excited because it was as if I had a sneak peek because they played it or sang it the night before, and I was like, oh, I saw it live, and yeah, definitely jam it. Yes. So you see Quincy Jones, back in the day, he would be right there too, kind of like Puffy, all in the videos. No, but he was a great producer. So it was good. You remember Solid as a Rock, Edward? Yeah, and so I was always really happy when my older brothers would take me to places that most people my age at that time were not really going. And my oldest brother, he was really good at doing that, just kind of like letting me hang, be in the corner, be in the cut. And I remember, if y'all remember Sugar Hill Gang, and Master G was someone that my brothers had grown up with. And when their songs came out, Rapper's Delight and all that came out, and very popular rap songs, commercial, probably the first ones to get on the radio. One day I came home and Master G was over our house in my brother's room. And my brother called me up there and was like, Cher, come upstairs for a second. And it was Master G there. And I was probably fourth or fifth grade, maybe like fifth grade. And I was going crazy. I didn't scream or anything when I was right in front of him, but I quickly ran to call one of my dearest friends who I knew really liked Sugar Hill Gang. Her name was Rosa. And I called her and I was like, Rosa, you will not believe who is over my house right now, right now. And she said, who? I said, Master G, Master G. She was like, what? She started screaming. And I went to my brother's room and I said, can Master G, can you say hi to my friend Rosa? And I promise you, to this day, she probably does not believe it. She probably does, because she said, there's no way that was him. No, no, but it was. And so, yeah, I enjoyed having two older brothers because I definitely got to experience some different things for sure. So the next concert, well, I won't say the next, but one of the other concerts that I've gone to was with EU. How many of you remember the Spike Lee movie Do the Right Thing? I think it was it Do the Right Thing? No, it was School Days. How many of you remember Spike Lee's movie School Days? You could put a heart in the chat if you remember School Days. But School Days, I was in college when School Days came out, and a lot of what he showcased in School Days was similar to my experience, a little bit low key. I went to an HBCU. I went to the first HBCU in the country, and School Days was based on an HBCU school campus, and so a lot of the things that took place was similar. And EU sang the song "Doing the Butt," which was a popular song in that movie, if you all remember that. And I remember when I was in college, I mean, we would have School Days type parties too. It was a fun time. But EU was going to be performing at a school nearby, Cheney University, which is not too far from my campus. And myself and my roommate, we went to see them in concert. And when I tell you we had a good time, oh my goodness. Seeing them perform that song live hits different. And if you are not familiar with EU, that band is a go-go band based out of Washington, D.C. And go-go music is very popular in D.C. And seeing them live, oh my goodness, it was everything. We had such a good time. It was so much fun. And then, of course, I believe all schools have these, but in particular, HBCUs have homecomings. And I thought I had an image for homecoming. I guess not. But let me see. Let me just see. Okay, here it is. Okay, so I know I can only speak from my own experience, and that is from going to an HBCU. And homecoming is a big deal. Homecoming is really like a family reunion. Everyone is coming, everyone is, you know, greeting each other, from recent graduates to graduates from years back. And people are coming onto campus because that is their home. That is where they were groomed. I always looked at my school as my home away from home. And as you get older and like your parents may retire, may move from your childhood home, your campus that you went to college will always be. And so that's home. And so this is actually a flyer from a homecoming concert that took place when I was in college. And so I actually went to this particular concert. And typically the concerts will be on Saturday night. So for homecoming at an HBCU, it's a basically almost like a month long event, but definitely a week long event. So the week before homecoming, you'll have all kinds of things like fashion shows, the coronation for the Miss and Mr. whatever the campus is, and so they'll crown the new king and queen. They'll have parades, they have the football game. Back then, my school didn't have a football team, unfortunately, but fortunately, we didn't miss it. And just a lot of different things go on, parties and a lot of things. But then Saturday night is the concert and the big party. So they have the concert, then it turns into the big party. So at the time, one of my friends that I grew up with was actually dating Big Daddy Kane. And for whatever reason, they couldn't get in to the concert, and somehow I knew where they were, and they were like, just tell Kane that we're outside. So in the middle of his performance, I walked up to the stage because it wasn't seats, it was just everyone standing around and just dancing. I mean, we've had Regina Bell at our concerts, we've had Kid and Play, we've had a lot of different artists over the years that I went there, and even now they still have the concert, homecoming concert. But during his performance, I went over to the stage and I was like, Kane. And he bent down, and I was like, Bridget is out in the lobby. She just wanted me to let you know she's here. And he was like, okay, cool. And then just went back on to performing. It was just so wild. And it's crazy because nowadays you're definitely not going to be able to, have that type of access. Yes. Fraternities and sororities. Yeah. And so, Edward, I pledged a sorority in undergrad, and it wasn't like that per se, but you did have to wear the same clothes, and it was an interesting process for sure. Hey, OG Brand, good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, he is able and in control for sure. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Yes, he always does, and I am grateful. Yes, he was the man. And you know what? He still is a smooth operator. He still is a great performer. I don't know if any of you had seen him in Pass the Mic, or recently, I think he was in, I forget what award show it was, but he performed, and he is definitely keeping himself. He's definitely keeping himself in shape, and it's good to see that. It's good to see him taking care of himself. Yes, Vern. Yes, I'm trying to tell you. So he's interesting, a good dude for sure. Yes. So that is one thing. And now, like I said, even now, schools, especially HBCUs, I think all schools really have some sort of concert. And we also on my campus had this room. It was in the basement of one of the dorms, and we called it the Lion's Den, because Lincoln, our mascot, was the lion. And so we called it the Lion's Den, and we would have jazz artists come, just kind of like be artists. And do y'all know Tracy Morgan, he's a comedian, and he was on SNL. He's a stand-up comedian. He's very popular. But before he got on any of that, before he was who he is, well known, he used to come to our campus all the time because one of the guys who was actually from Brooklyn but moved to Teaneck, went to Teaneck High. He was a couple of years older than me, Frank Brown, DJ Brownsville. He was one of our on-campus DJs back in the day, but he also went to Lincoln, and him and Tracy grew up together and were really close. And so Tracy would come to campus often to visit him, and with the Lincoln, the Lions Den, Tracy would perform there, and it was cool. Like I remember when Frank used to DJ, and Tracy would help him with bringing his records, setting up, his DJ stuff and everything. And it was just, that's Tracy. He's just coming. That's Frank's homeboy from Brooklyn. Just, it is what it is. And to see how his career has escalated. I mean, he has elevated for real to the umpteenth time, doing extremely well. And when I first saw him on Saturday Night Live, I was like, do your thing, do your thing. And I love seeing that kind of elevation because it makes it possible. It's possible for you too. Maybe not how they are doing it, but definitely for you in any other way that you're trying to do it, for sure. Um, Everything is possible. Okay, I see everyone is. Yes, okay. I see you. I see you, Vern. Yes, Big Daddy Kane. And it's interesting. He started to come to my campus kind of before he hit it big, big, I want to say. And one of my line sisters dated his one of his dancers, and then his other dancer kind of was dating my roommate. And I remember one day coming in from class, and he was sitting on my bed. Like, what? I said, I don't care who you think you are, but you're gonna get off my bed. That's for sure. I did not prefer that. There's chairs. What you getting comfortable for? I don't see what we're no. And he was like, "Whoa, like yo, this is I don't care. I do not care." But yeah, it's interesting the people that you see just going through life, and then again where they end up is interesting. But yes, it is what it is. It is what it is. Yes. Yes, he is. And that's where Frank was from too. His name was Frank Brown, and Brownsville, so he was DJ Brownsville. Yeah. So let me see my next one. Okay, so I don't know if any of you have been to Virginia Beach before, but Virginia Beach is an interesting place. It has a small boardwalk. It's actually a really nice beach, a nice area to go and visit. And when I was in college, Labor Day weekend, that was a big, big deal going to Virginia Beach. It was, whew, young people from everywhere. It was definitely a cat's meow. It was a good time, and I only went maybe once, I think I only went once. And some things are so much fun, and it's so much until sometimes all you need to do is go one time. I'm drinking my water. Sometimes all you need to do is go one time because that experience just stays with you forever. And so my roommate and I, we drove to Virginia Beach, and there was these guys that grew up in a town next to us, and they went to college around Virginia Beach, and they was like, y'all can come and stay with us. We're gonna have our own apartment. It's four of us in an apartment, da da da. And back then there was no GPS. All we had was the address. I don't know how we made it there, but it was so cool. It was like Teaneck Inglewood in the building, and that's where I'm from. And Inglewood is another town next to me. And so we had a really, really good time. Unfortunately, those two guys, both of them have passed away at an early age. Forever 21, forever 22. And but anyway, we would hang out at the beach during the day, and there was a concert. They had this huge indoor ice rink that they took the ice off and put a floor on top of it and made it a huge dance floor. So imagine an indoor ice rink, and they make it into a dance floor where they can have a party. And they had a stage, and it was Audio 2. I don't know if y'all remember Audio 2. He's actually MC Light's brother. He rapped, his song was It Takes Two to Make Things Go Right. Um he was performing, and that was so much fun. Oh my goodness, we had a really, really good time. And again, that was one of those concerts where there's no seating, you're just standing up. And I'm noticing a lot of places are starting to make concerts like that again, especially the outdoor concerts. A lot of times my daughters are telling me there's areas in concerts too. They call them like the pit, and in the pit is where everyone is just standing up. And yeah, you had a crush on Salt and Pepper. A lot of people did. And a lot of young girls, I know I was one of them, took a lot of the styling from Salt and Pepper as well as Queen Latifah, where, the way they had their hair cut in asymmetrical styles, or the type of jewelry and earrings they wore, the spandex bodysuits with the leather big bomber jackets. Yeah, all of that stuff was in style back then. The hat, oh, I had so many of those leather beanie kind of hats, and I would have one side of my hair longer than the other, the back cut up, bobbed out, all that. Yes. Yeah, I think they may Edward. You know, where I went to college, there was an Amish community, and it was so beautiful. That's why I tell everyone where I went to school. My campus is still the most beautiful HBCU campus in the country, and that is because it was around Amish farms. Literally, like you cross the street down the block, it was an Amish farm, and it was put there because it had to be in a safe place, because my school was the first HBCU. It was founded in 1854, and that was before slavery, before Civil War was happened. And so, you know, to educate young black people back then, it had to be in a safe place, and nestled in Amish land was where it was. So yeah, it was definitely I'm going back down some memory lanes. I am. Yeah. And you know, Edward, it's amazing to see how they still use a horse and buggy. They still wear their black clothes, you know. However, when I was in college, you would see their horse and buggy parked in the parking lot because they would go to the grocery store and I guess pick up things they just couldn't grow. I'm not sure, but they definitely would go into, I would see them in the stores. They wouldn't interact with anyone, but you know, it's just interesting that whole culture and how it still has basically remained the same. I know that they have some pieces of them that are kind of going mainstream, and you know, there's so much access they do. You know, I guess because of their businesses, because they have stores and they sell products and things of that nature. They had to come get up with a little bit of the time with technology, but it's interesting. Yes, yes. They were all your classmates, Vern? See, Vern's that New York girl for real. She downtown girl. And yeah, I'm sure you definitely around a lot of them for sure. Yeah, Push is a good song. I love all the Salt and Pepper songs. They did really well. Stood the test of time for sure. All right. So next I have, and this is a balladeer, and he was amazing to see in concert. And I was very fortunate to see Luther Vandross in concert several times. But I loved his concerts because they were breathtaking. His background singers would have beautiful, long ballroom gowns on, made out of velvet or of satin, and he would always have a tuxedo, just so polished and handsome, you know, just singing, belting out songs that were just beautiful. And you know, he just put on a really good concert. And the last concert that I had seen him in, well, I'm not sure it was the last concert, but definitely the most memorable of his was the one that he performed at the Meadowlands in New Jersey in 1987. It was August, and Shirley Murdoch sang "As We Lay." She was the opening for him, and that song was really popular back then. And y'all, oh my goodness, yes, Kid and Play, definitely. I remember them. My mother's sister actually dated Kid's um father, and so he actually came to my wedding, but almost related, almost related. They worked out for a little while. I really liked his father a lot for sure. Yes, self-sufficient. Yes, very, very classy, Vern. You would have enjoyed a Luther Vandross concert for sure. And so one thing, I had my crew, you know, everybody has their crew, their group of friends, their go-to people, their besties and everything from high school and whatnot. And so for us, it was four of us, and we always were trying to do things different, trying to, you know, just always looking for something great to get into. And right before we all went off to college, it was August of 1987, we were like, what's our last like rodeo we're going to do? What's the last big thing we're going to do? And Luther was going to be performing at the Meadowlands, which is in New Jersey, not too far from where we were, you know, lived, like a couple of exits away. And it was so funny because we did not have a ride back. So we had a ride to the Meadowlands, but we didn't have a ride home. We had tickets, we had great seats, and I mean the seats were a dream, and we just could not imagine not going, even though we didn't have a ride to come home. We tried at the time, we tried to call the yellow cab service, and we were like, can you pick us up from the Meadowlands after, we would like to reserve a cab to come and pick us up after the concert? And they were like, no, we would not come to the Meadowlands. We would never be able to find you. By then, it was too late to reserve a car. For some whatever reason, we couldn't. None of us could get our parents' car. Our parents were going somewhere, doing something, and no one was available to pick us up. And so then we were like, well, let's look at the bus line, maybe the bus. And for whatever reason, the bus wasn't going that way. It was just a mess. And I said, you know what? We always know people when we go somewhere. Now, mind you, the Meadowlands, that's where the Nets play. That's where the hockey is. That's where the Giants play. It's on the turnpike, the New Jersey Turnpike. There's no place you can walk to from the Meadowlands. It's like on a little piece of land by itself. There's no restaurants around. Well, now there's a lot you can do, but back then there was no restaurants. It was nothing. It was just the turnpike and that area. And so we were like, what are we going to do? But I said, we always know people when we go somewhere. So what we'll do at intermission, we'll have to just go and make sure we see someone that we know. We'll have to, that's our mission. We'll have to look for people we know. So we're at the concert. We dressed up because you don't go to Luther Vandross in jeans, concert in jeans. You have to dress up. So we're all dressed up and everything. And we're enjoying the first half of the concert. Oh, it was just beautiful. It was amazing. And then at intermission, I said, all right, we have to go up by the concessions and everything and see who we see, because we have to find people we know. It's a must. Like, that's our mission. So we went up and we saw this guy that we knew from high school, but he didn't go to our high school. He lived in a different town, but we were in a same group, like a high school group together. So when we saw him, I said, oh my goodness, how'd you get here? He said, my mother dropped us off. I said, oh, well, do you have room? How many? I think it was three of them, and it was three of us, three or four of us. I know it was four people in my crew, but I think only three of us were able to go to the concert. And I said, do you have room in a car for three more? You think your mother can drop us off? And he said, yeah, sure. But he wasn't 100%, he wasn't really, it didn't sound too convincing. But I was like, where are you sitting? Give me your seat number and everything. And when we got to our seat, we made sure we were able to locate his seat. So we, periodically throughout the concert, we can look. Now, mind you, this is before cell phones. So it wasn't like he could call his mother and say, Mom, I have these girls that need a ride or anything like that. So basically, when his mother would come, here we all are. So after the concert, that was our next mission. Make sure we didn't lose sight of him. So we found them, and I think they were really trying to lose us in real life. I really think so. But we found them, and we were standing outside waiting, just like they were for their mother, for his mother. And when his mother came, she was looking like, what? And back then, you didn't really wear a seatbelt. It really wasn't as it is now, where everyone has to have a seatbelt kind of thing. But she said, well, how are these three girls here and nobody can pick them up? Like, what's really going on? And he was like, Mom, please, if you could just take them to Teaneck. When I tell you, she just took us to Teaneck. So I don't know how many of you have been down the New Jersey Turnpike. And as far as Teaneck is the last exit on the Turnpike. He again lived in a town next to Teaneck, but not in Teaneck. His mother turned off the turnpike, and the sign said Teaneck. And basically she dropped us off right there. And it was about midnight. And so we had to walk from there. I mean, she literally was like, this is it. Like, this is, and we got out. It was midnight, and we had to walk the rest of the way. We had heels on. We all ended up taking our shoes off. Luckily, it was August and hot anyway, and we had to walk the rest of the way home. I think it might have been about at least 2 miles to my house. It was, but you know what? We saw Luther Vandross. That's all I know, and we had a great time. Yes. Yes, House Party was a great movie. They did a good job with that whole series. Kid and Play did a good job back then. Yeah. Luther was always walking around. Luther, I know I would always see Whitney Houston at the car wash in Inglewood, Fort Lee area. My brother's friends, they owned this car wash that everybody used to go to. And that's how it was up top. People would just walk around. And I don't know, nowadays you don't really see people as much like that. Yes, I love Sam Cooke. I love balladeers. I do, for sure. Burn, when I tell you that was the craziest thing, but to this day, I can tell you I saw Luther Vandross, I saw Shirley Murdoch, and I had a good time. Did not miss a beat at all. Did not miss a beat. So let's see. The next one is, again, I had mentioned it in St. Louis, seeing Al Green. Al Green was actually really good in concert, and he gave me a rose. In St. Louis, we saw Brian McKnight. Brian McKnight put on a beautiful concert too. He's a great balladeer, just like Luther Vandross. I was just surprised at the after, they had like a little after, like a VIP kind of function after Brian McKnight performed. And, on stage, Brian had on a nice suit, just really clean cut, just really sharp. And then afterwards, he looked like from around the way, he had on a hood. He was, sagged all the way down. I was surprised at his after concert look. But yeah, he definitely performed very well. And then I can't remember if it was the Beacon Theater or if it was Madison Square Garden. Maybe I think it might have been Madison. I can't remember where it was in New York, but I saw Janet Jackson. And when I tell you, this was back when this was Janet, this Janet I saw. I didn't see the one that's the newest one. And hey, be the difference clothing. What? How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you for sure. Janet back then, whew, she was Janet. This was probably around 1994-ish, I want to say. I was still working in New York because I got married in 95 and it was right before I got married. And ooh, her concert. See, Janet back in the day was like Beyonce today. And she could perform, she would dance. Her voice singing wasn't the strongest, but she sang great songs that fit her voice. So whoever was doing her producing, they did a good job with that. But her concert was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. And then I had seen MC Hammer in concert in Philadelphia, and it was him and New Edition. This was back when I was in college. By accident, I was in Miami at a club, and next thing I know, Luke and all of his people, if y'all know who I'm talking about, Luke, they performed, and I was just like, what in the world? But then also in New York, because my cousin's husband is a percussionist, a professional percussionist, Jeff Haynes, he performed with Peebo Bryson, and I went to these concerts in New York. Peebo Bryson, Pat Metheny, and Cassandra Wilson. And seeing him perform was so amazing. When it comes to him being a jazz percussionist, he in most of Cassandra's songs, her albums, if you follow jazz music, he is on just about all of them as the percussionist. He's also been with Rochelle Farrell. He's been on SNL performing. I forget the groups that he performed with recently, but yeah, seeing jazz performers is awesome too. So Burn, you can go to a nice jazz club and see someone perform. So you know where he would perform at Beacon Theater and B Smith's. I want to say B Smith's had a little area where some, high list jazz performers would go and perform. B Smith's used to be the Cat's Meow too back in the day. That was on, I want to say it was on 40th Street, not too far from the Port Authority. She had a really nice restaurant. I often think about her. I know she had come down with Alzheimer's really bad, and I hope she's doing okay though, for sure. I hope she's doing okay. Everyone's saying hi to Joy. And Joy, Be the Difference Clothing, she actually lived or worked in my hometown in Teaneck. And so, yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, Poetic Justice was a good movie. Her and Tupac, and I forgot the comedian's name, and Regina King was in that movie. That was a good movie for sure. Okay, so then let me see. Now we're going to move down to the Essence Festival. So the Essence Festival it takes place in New Orleans. Now, I haven't been in many years cuz when we lived there, it was like it was a no-brainer to go. But I know I did see some clips of the one they had this year, and it to me it feels like it changed, or maybe it didn't change and I'm just older. And so the performers that they had are more new school. And so I don't know, I'm into the new school, don't get me wrong, but just the way that Essence Festival used to be set up, it's just hitting different. But I'm gonna tell you, I used to tell people all the time, if you want to go to New Orleans, going around the 4th of July for the Essence Festival is a great time to go. Grown people are there. They have during the day amazing talks. I know this year I believe Oprah and Fantasia and everyone that's going to be part of the remix of The Color Purple did a had a platform discussion about it. They'll have different celebrity cooks that are doing demonstrations. They have vendors. All this is at the convention center, and people are just vibing, just walking around, enjoying the city, enjoying their time. And then at night, around 7 p.m., I want to say the concert starts, and it's in the Superdome. And the Superdome has these, and most domes have this, they have the suites. And so the main stage is where the A-list artists are, and then the suites are where the B-list, B, C, D list artists perform. And it's a whole vibe. I always tell people, listen, don't necessarily try and get the best seat because you're going to want to flow. You're going to want to walk around, and you're going to go in and out of different suites, and then maybe your artist that you love will be on the main stage, and then that might be when you go to your seat, or you could just stand in the aisles. I don't know if you could stand in the aisles anymore, but I know back in the day you could just listen. People would sit with basically wherever they want. You buy your ticket to get into the building, and then after that is every man, woman, and child for themselves. But there are seats assigned. So if somebody taps you on the shoulder and talk about this is my seat, you do need to get up if it's not your seat. But yeah, that used to be a whole vibe, and I have seen so many artists come through there. So like Mary J. Blige, Gladys Knight, Kurt Franklin and the Family, the Isley Brothers, the OJs, Erica Badu, Kenny G, Patti LaBelle, Maxwell, Morris Day and the Time. And they always at the very last day. So this concert is like 2, 3 days long. All right. The last day of the concert, it would always be Frankie Beverly and Maze. Now, I don't know who is closing the show out now, but I doubt if it's Frankie Beverly. I know one year it was Puff Daddy and Bad Boys. They performed at the Essence Festival. I didn't attend that one, but like I'm saying, it's so many different artists that come through, and you really are able to see a lot of people. And the great thing about it is that, say it starts at 7, I think the concert back then would be over around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning or something. And so you get the schedule of when people would be coming to stage. So sometimes, even though it started at 7, I might not leave to go to the concert till about 10 o'clock at night because the person I wanted to see didn't start to perform until then or something like that. So yeah, it definitely is a game changer. Um, Again, I'm not sure if it's still the same or what the quality is. I do know that some people were a little disappointed this year by the quality of the performers, but it still is a whole vibe for sure. Let's see. Other people that I have seen in the past: Queen Latifah, KRS One, Naughty by Nature. This, oh, Great people. Oh, more people that I have seen at the Essence Festival: D'Angelo, LSG. I remember LSG. That's when Gerald Levert was still alive, and he did this performance on stage that cracks me up to this day when I think about it. Millie Jackson performed, Tina Marie, Usher, Grover Washington Jr., Kenny Lattimore. So we had some really good performers at that Essence for sure. And then at Charlotte, the CIAA, I remember Dougie Fresh performed at the convention center, Biz Markie. I love Dougie Fresh. I think he is the hostess with the mostest. He definitely is the opener and the closer of all things hip hop. I would love for him to be my hype man in some capacity. I really am glad when I see him because I want him to be all right. And he seems to be doing very well for sure. And then here in Charlotte, John P. Key, he has a church. And when we first moved here, a long time ago, I remember attending his church periodically. And his whole, I mean, has a great message, definitely a preacher teacher, but his singing, to me, it was always a concert for sure. And also Fred Hammond, he had done a concert here at one of the mega churches. His concert to me reminded me of Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I've seen Earth, Wind, and Fire at Budweiser Superfest before. He is such a great performer. And to know that this is gospel, like he's singing and praising the Lord, he does a great job. He definitely has a unique twist to it. And Tony Terry, do y'all remember Tony Terry? He sang some of the most beautiful songs, and I remember we had seen him at a quaint place in New York one year before we got married, actually, because we were thinking about seeing if we could hire him to sing at our wedding. And he sings some of the most beautiful songs. If you aren't familiar with him, and he's an older artist in terms of it was in the 1990s when he performed or when he had major hits, I want to say. But if you have never heard of his songs, I recommend that you check out Tony Terry because he does a good job. And Rochelle Farrell, we would see her sometimes. I wish I could remember the name of the places in New York where we would see them because it's not always, again, and Vern, that's what I'm trying to tell you too. It's not always who you see on this big stage. It doesn't have to be at the Garden or anything, but there are these other places that are kind of like off the beaten path that will hire artists to come and perform. Sometimes you don't even know, you're just in the right place at the right time and we'll see them and you're like, oh well, man, I know his music or I know their music, and you get a treat. But we would find those places in New York, in Manhattan. I wish I could remember exactly where they were back in the day, and it would just, you have to have reservations, and it would just be a really nice, low key nightclub type of place. It's like two to a table, candlelight, dark room type of thing. You might have some appetizers, but there's drinks and a bartender, and it's just low music, and it's just really a cool vibe. I just can't remember all the names of the places. Yes. So Be the Difference Clothing, Tony Terry used to be one of my favorites. He has a beautiful voice. The words of his songs are so beautiful as well. And I really enjoy him. I haven't heard anything of him lately, but if you say he has a latest song out, I'm definitely going to look him up and check him out for sure. Let's see, Ludacris, I've seen him perform a couple of times. But Rochelle Farrell, I don't have her picture, but if you haven't heard her sing, she would sing duets with Will Downing, I believe. But her voice is so amazing. Her voice is like an instrument, and she has such range and just does a great job. I think she might have something that is current. I believe she has performed something, but the music that I mostly listen to of hers is from the 1990s. So one of my favorite artists, and many of you probably don't know who he is. I know who he is because I grew up with him, and He's just a year older than me, but we grew up in the same town. But he has songs. He actually is a singer as well, but he's not as popular with his songs as he is with his writing. So he's written songs for Anita Baker, like the song I Apologize. He wrote that. He wrote Brownstone, if y'all remember the group Brownstone, If You Love Me. He wrote the song that Brandy, Gladys Knight, and some other singers sang. Remember a song Missing You? I believe that was from Set It Off, maybe. That song Missing You. And he wrote for CeCe Peniston and many more. His name is Gordon Chambers. Gordon is one of the nicest men that I grew up with. Most of the guys I grew up with were very, very nice guys in real life. And Gordon has always been very talented musically. But my favorite song, and I wish I could remember it, but I just know, it was a very emotional song for our whole town, that he dedicated to a young lady, who was in his year. So like I said, Gordon is a year older than me. And so one year, a young lady got murdered, actually in a parking lot behind one of my parents' stores. And she was so sweet. It was the summer before her senior year in high school. And Gordon wrote a song dedicated to her. Her name was Danielle. And I remember at like a memorial type of service that my high school had, he performed it, and it just brought all of us to tears. And I just knew then Gordon was always this very special, just so musically talented, friendly, and everyone loved him. I knew that he was going to do well, and he has. Just like I was reading some of the accolades of his, where Anita Baker, who doesn't know I Apologize, and Missing You. So I wish I could remember the song that he did for Danielle, because I'm wondering if Missing You is part of it. But if I see him again, I haven't seen him in decades, but if I see him again, I'm going to ask him that for sure. And then oh, okay, you did. Okay, Mary J. Blige. You remember Gordon? Yeah, and so be the difference. He grew up in Teaneck. He grew up in Teaneck also. Yep. I remember the Underground. I remember Bentley's, Nell's, which is in Uptown. Um, just some great places. Yeah. So Gordon is the truth. He really is. So when it comes to, artists and concerts and singers and all that, I have to put him up there. Definitely. And so going back, just rounding it all out to my concert that I didn't think I would enjoy, but I ended up loving, was On the Run, the On the Run tour. So I was supposed to be kind of like the designated driver, because the tour that my daughters were going to was in Atlanta. And I was like, I'll drive them. And so my husband got 3 tickets, but I was like, I don't want to see Beyonce in concert. I'm all concert out. I'm good. I think she's probably overrated. What more could she do? So Vern, I'm talking to you at this point. What more can a person really do in a concert that they are not doing on the radio or in the all in the videos? How much more could it be? But then as the days were going closer and we were going, and the excitement that my daughters had, I was like, you know what? I might pop in, but otherwise I'll be in the um car. I have my book, I'll just read and I'll wait for y'all. And then, when the concert's over, we can go. And so thank you, Edward. I love concerts. Thank you, Vern, for sure. Thank you. And so we get there early, because I told them it's always good to, and Vern, this is another tip, it's always good to go inside early so you can kind of case out the joint. And also, this is a tip, if you go to basketball games or any kind of sporting events, football, hockey, whatever, if you go really early, sometimes you can go down close to the field or to the court. Just like at a concert, you get there early, you can sometimes get close to the stage, and you might even see them finishing up with the warm up a little bit. I mean, you just never know. You might be able to meet somebody, just whatever. So we get there early enough. We were able to get something to eat. This was not our, I don't think this was our first time in the Mercedes Benz Dome in Atlanta, which is really, really nice. It's a very nice dome. But anyway, we're in there walking around, taking pictures, just whatever. And when I tell you, that concert, that On the Run tour was with Jay-Z and Burn. I don't know if you feel this way, but I remember back in the day, before Jay-Z got married, right before he and Beyonce got married. And I was talking to some women that were from Brooklyn. And, Brooklyn women are something else about Jay-Z. They don't want nobody bothering Jay-Z. They all about him. Like, no, mm-mm. And the women was like, you know what? Beyonce gets it. Like, we not mad at him for marrying her. If he's gonna marry anybody, it has to be somebody on Beyonce's status. And I thought that was so cute because that just sounds like aunties or sisters looking out for their brother or nephew and such. But at any rate, Jay-Z was part of that tour. Holly, was it Chloe and Haley were opening acts. DJ Khaled was an opening act. Ludacris came on stage and performed a little bit. I want to say Puffy's son did too. What's his son's name? The one that looks just like him. I can't remember his name. He performed one of his songs. I remember him dancing around stage looking like his daddy. But I was like, wait, from the beginning to the very end, it was nonstop. There was no intermission. It was just opening act to the act. And I never sat down. Right here, this picture is the only time I sat down. I stood up. I was shaking my hair, just like Beyonce was shaking hers. I, I think I was dancing way more than my daughters for sure. I had so much fun. When I got out, you ever go to a club and it's so loud and you have such a good time and you come out, you could barely hear. Your ears are kind of stopped up. That's how I felt after that concert. I was sweating. It was everything. I had so much fun. At that point, I said, you know what? This is by far the best concert I've ever been to in my entire life, out of all concerts. So by all means, if you have a chance to go to the Renaissance and you've never seen Beyonce in concert before because you think she's overrated, she's not. You need to go. So my girls are going to her in a couple of weeks. I decided not to, again, because just for, I know how I am. I kind of black out because I just go crazy, like, and I don't know how to stop. And I just feel like I'll pay for it later, and I don't want to have to pay for it, my actions later. So I said, I'm gonna leave that for the young folks, and I'm not gonna go this time. But I'm seeing all the people getting ready. My daughters, they keep talking about their fit, not outfits, but their fits. And I'm like, listen, I don't even want to hear any more things about clothes because that's the thing I wanted to say. I don't remember when I would go to concerts, I don't really remember getting all involved in what I'm going to wear. So apparently, with this Renaissance tour, it's themed. It's like a cowboy theme or something. I just know my daughter's looking for some cowboy boots. They trying to, get studded belts and hats and all kinds of things. And I'm just like, that's a little different than, concerts I'm used to going to. You just throw on something nice and comfortable. Definitely comfortable shoes, especially for me because I like to dance, and just keep it going. But let me know, did any of you go to the Beyonce concert? I know in the beginning, some people had said that they did, but going through this, did you go? Or are you going? Because she's still touring. She's touring in the U.S. She'll be again in Atlanta in the next couple of weeks. I know she's going to be in um, I forget where, but she's all over. So I'm just like, listen, but I'm not going to this concert. I see they have a lot of cameras, and I'm hoping that it will be filmed or shown, streamed somewhere at some point of time on one of these media outlets, because I don't recall when she did the On the Run. I don't remember seeing the cameras like I see them now. So I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like that, how Spike Lee did the Kings of Comedy tour. And I remember we went to see that when it was being filmed here in Charlotte. So, you see those cameras around, but I didn't see all that when she did the on the run tour. But that's all I have for y'all. I just wanted to come on and talk about concerts. And, now it feels like concerts are in the air. I know in the summertime, a lot of concerts do happen. There's a lot of great outdoor concerts. And I don't know. I haven't really been to an outdoor concert in a long time, probably since I'd stopped playing in them, the community concert. But outdoor concerts are interesting. You're really there just to hear it, not really to see anything. Oh, okay, let me stop playing. So the best outdoor concert, if you're looking for an outdoor concert, is the Jazz Festival in New Orleans. And it happens the last weekend in April and the first weekend in May. And I think it's at the Louis Armstrong Park, but there's a bus, like a shuttle, that will take you to the park. I forget where you catch it because we lived there and we would go all the time when it would come. I'm trying to remember how we would get the shuttle. Maybe it was part of the ticket. I'm not sure. But when I tell you that is the best outdoor concert, that is the best jazz festival anywhere. I don't care. I know there are some people that go, there's one in Hampton, Virginia. A lot of people go to that one. But the one in New Orleans is everything. First of all, they have it's not just jazz music, because I remember seeing Shirley Caesar perform there. They have a whole gospel tent. They have tents for all different genres of music, and you go in and you have like a list of when performers are going to perform throughout. And again, it's a whole week. It's 2 whole weekends. So for the last weekend in April and the first weekend in May. And they have food vendors, and to be a food vendor there, you have to try out. So they have the best of the best food vendors there. There's food that you can get there, even though we all know food is amazing in New Orleans. During the Jazz Festival, it's beyond. Okay. One of my favorite things to eat, and I want to say Carter's Eat may have made it or talked about it. I feel like I recently had seen this on someone's channel, and that is the crawfish bread. Crawfish, is very popular, especially now they're in season. But the crawfish bread is so good, and I love crawfish etouffee, but I could never find the crawfish bread anywhere but at the Jazz Festival. And so basically, they take French bread and stuff it with cheese, sauce, crawfish meat, but it's about how they make the sauce and how they stuff it. It's like a calzone of sorts, but the bread is different than calzone bread. So it's not like an Italian bread, it's definitely like more of a French kind of bread. And whew, if I could get some of that from there and just freeze it and have enough to last me a year, I would. And for whatever reason, I know why. We were moving to Charlotte, but the last time we were there, I was thinking next year I'm going to buy a whole bunch of these. But that next year we weren't there anymore. We were in the process of moving, and so I never went. But I do want to go back, and I'm hoping since Katrina that they've resurrected it. I mean, they brought the Essence Festival back, so I'm hoping that the Jazz Festival is there too. If any of you have gone to the Jazz Festival, please let me know in the chat or in the comments if you're looking at this in the replay. Another great time to go to New Orleans is during the Thanksgiving holiday. They have what's called the Bayou Classic, and that is when Grambling and Southern play. They play at the Superdome, and but if you go, you have got to have your gear together because it is definitely a fashion show, but it's a lot going on then too. But that's all I have. I just wanted to come on here again and say hi and share with you, concert prep 101. Maybe it'll be helpful as you get ready for a concert. Remember, when you go to these concerts, play the music that you're getting ready to hear so that they can be fresh in your mind so you can sing along. Because that's another thing, Vern. At concerts, people definitely sing along with the artist. It's pretty cool how everyone knows the words, and it's pretty dope. I think you would really enjoy a concert, either with your husband or go with a group of friends or one friend or your daughter, anybody. Um, just don't go by yourself. I would not recommend for your first concert, especially, to go by yourself. However, my coordinator that works with me, she went to the Janet Jackson concert recently by herself. She didn't have anyone to go with, and she wanted to go, and she went, and she had a good time. Because you will meet kindred spirits. You'll meet people all around you that love the artist. Obviously, that's why they're there. So you can still have a good time. But I'm thinking for your first one, that you need to definitely go with friends so you can be acclimated, so they can help you become more acclimated to how it goes. Yes, it's great to see you. Be the Difference Clothing. Thanks for stopping by. You know what, Vern? I'm going to take you to a concert. It's okay, I know, but I'm going to take you to one day. One day, Floyd, you and I will be at a concert. But I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day and have a fabulous week. Do something spectacular so that you can pin it onto what you're leaving back as part of your legacy. Again, I am Coach Sherri. If you're not yet part of this team, I invite you to join. Hit the subscribe button and the bell so you'll be notified when I upload. And also, coming up soon, save the date, on the 29th, I will be live, and we are bringing the heat. We are doing an empowerment conference, and I'll be on from 12 to 1 p.m. here on this channel. But thanks so much for tuning in, and take care and stay safe.